and welcome to the 5-day National FDP on recent trends in technological advancement for sustainable society in the area of engineering 2022. In short, RTASsE 2022. Myself, Shatodal Chakraborty, Assistant Professor, Department of CSE, and the moderator of the session. Now, I may take the privilege to introduce Mr. Saurabh Chakraborty from TCS as a keynote speaker of this session. Mr. Saurabh Chakraborty, cybersecurity consultant over 16 plus years in industry experience and currently associated with Tata Consultancy Services. His core experience liaises with several global customers like BFSI, retail, telecom, professional services, etc. His current responsibility is to provide cyber resilience guidelines and design to customers who are in the path of application and infra modernization in public cloud. His skills fall into cloud security, SecOps, VAPT, IAM, and in many other services within cybersecurity domain. He holds many globally recognized certifications. Few are certified Information Security Manager (CISM), certified Ethical Hacker (CEH), ISO 27001 Lead Auditor, Google and Azure Security Professional, etc. The topic for today is cybersecurity. Welcome, Saurabh.
Thank you. Thanks, Satadal. Thanks for the quick and brief introduction. Then maybe I would not take much time again introducing me. It's very good afternoon, everyone. I believe it's a post-lunch for everyone. Normally, post-lunch sessions goes into a little boring mode. I'll try to make as interesting for everyone, all of you. And in that, having said that, let me quickly share my screen so that I can share my presentation. Just give me a moment. Let me know once my screen is visible. Is that visible?
Yes, it's visible, sir.
Okay, great. So as I understood, everyone, again, it's an honor and privilege to speak all of you. I have seen so many doctors and everyone. I mean, it's really honor and privilege to speak on in front of you. And I understand that, okay, all of you are having a technology background because based on the audience, my way of speaking, my terminologies, technology terminologies would be varies. So initially I understood it is majorly focused onto the faculties. So I assume that there are certain background, everybody have it in the current technology background. So based on that, I will try to move forward and giving you that piece of information. So mostly I'll try to cover, it's not only cybersecurity awareness that, okay, what you should do, do's and don'ts. Normally I would not focus, as you all know what you should be doing, what you mean by privacy, what you're supposed to do that for your information sharing, that all of you, I believe you are taking care of. Normally, how would I would focus on as an industry perspective. So if I take an example, it's a Siliguri Institute of Technology. It's a business, it's an organization with an educational services. So it's again a business organization. If I could take it, this is a educational services business. We fall into a small business organization. So I would try to cover it up, that cybersecurity, how it helps for your small organizations. That would try to, mainly I will try to focus that what is that we all should be looking into it by basic of some basic understanding related to cybersecurity. Having said that, I will start that, and in any point of time, if you all, I believe you all, I mean the moderators, Satya, you are. So if there are any questions, please raise your hand and you please go ahead and shoot your question, because normally I will not go into the chat section. It is preferred that, okay, you always raise your hand or go ahead and shoot your question, or else I will pick it up into the later on. Okay. So let me put it into a presentation mode. So it's overall, as I said, it would be only on cybersecurity. I'll not go ahead with the who am I. This is now to start with a overall a pictorial background that just let me hide it. How could I hide it? Yeah. Okay. So this gives a broad picture that why cybersecurity is a very niche and demanding skill, and with a lot of technology oriented topics that we discuss in cybersecurity, why it is happening, and why hackers generally, we say that why hackers hack. That's something big. I try to incorporate everything in all single into a single page. This is what I haven't created. It's just for all of you to understand. I search in Google, which I find it. That is what I just pasted it. This is where we can see that, okay, the motive behind cyber attack. So why attack happens generally to anybody? Could be any individual, it could be any organization, it could be any country, anything. The target could be that as much as vulnerable, they would try to get it hacked. Now you see that, okay, initial, let me see if I can have some highlighter. Google Meet, I have not done it. Okay, anyway. So you see that in the first section, it's called ransom. 41% of hacks which happened in last year, it's mostly related to ransomware. Then you see the 27%, it's an insider threats. When we say insider threat, it's something from within your organization that somebody have opened some loophole, and that's the threat happening. You would see that 26% is on political perspective. 26% is in competition, that okay, two different organization, two different countries, those which are in competition. Then 24% you could see cyber war. Cyber war, we all know that, okay, how it's happening, because in the recent, I mean, not just recent, almost 5-6 months it's going on between Russia and the other country, I forgot the name, the country that's Lebanon and other countries, that's going on. That's completely, it's a cyber war, it's happening. Then it's like with the angry user, like 20% of the overall hacks, it's happening angry user. When we say angry user, what we try to understand is somebody from inside the organization who got angry. What could be that angry perspective? That could be that, okay, the employee who didn't get a good appraisal rating, who didn't get a right salary hike, or who have some grievance against the managers, they generally get motivated and get angry. They try to make the organization information out of to the organization, giving some secret information outsides publicly, post it, put it some into the blog or social networking websites, or do some anomaly activity based on that, which could lead into an organization threat to a hacks. Then 11% you could say that's motives are unknown. Okay, there could be a n number of reasons, but that's the percentage where you have to map something. And in the below table, you could see that in terms of an organization perspective, accommodation, food and services, what are the major area of hacks that happen? That, okay, you see denial of service. When I call it that denial of service, it's called DOS attack. DOS attack is nothing but is like, okay, when you are targeting some system, you're making it an operation, that the system will not get operate, they will not respond you back. That generally it called denial of service. The major thing that I would like to cover over here, I would see privilege misuse. Why I'm saying that privilege misuse, if you see that educational service in the second row, educational service, and the major attack happens into educational service based on privilege misuse. When we say privilege misuse, what does it mean? Because the educational service, if I say that, okay, colleges, engineering colleges, or anything like, okay, online services like Baiju or a lot of other things have come up. What happened, the risk over here, like any individual have a lot of privileges. If I could say it again as an example, the computer science department for an engineering college, they have a website running, they have a necessary permission to get up and running on website, they have a lot of applications access, and they do control it. Okay, there are some individuals, a senior, a head of the department, who have access to that specific piece of system. But normally, we don't do a normal levers and process or segregation of duties. When we say segregation of these duties, it need to know that the person who is having the access, whether it is a need to know perspective. You have some share folder. That share folder has been opened in public so that any system can access to the share folder. But are we really checking that, okay, whether this share folder is really controlled, whether somebody is not injecting some malware into that system, or whether that server or application you have access to, have you limited the access who are having need to know, have you validated it? So there are some misuse happens to that. There has to be some control into that privileges based on segregation of duties. If I see that specific application owner runs from a specific department, which could be a computer science or IT department, but I could see there are some accesses from a electrical department also. Do you really think that is a authorized access? But that needs to be validated. Why the access has been given? That request need to be justified. Based on that, the most of the cases this privilege misuse happens, that they would be misusing certain privileges, and mostly they would be opening up certain channels to the outside world which can get in front of your system. Second is like, you could say lost and stolen assets. Something you don't, I mean, you have certain laptops assigned to certain individuals, employees, professors, and everything, but it is not completely controlled with a controlled manner. Password protection is one of way thing, but is it encrypted? If the laptop is stolen, some other person has taken it. The laptop may have all your necessary secret information about your organization, and if it has been stolen, that's a big risk. A lot of secret data that had been lost, like the competition, like, okay, any other organization similar like your college got the similar information, that would be high risk because you have certain plan to develop your business. So these are a major risk being observed in the educational services, and there are many more. If I start going into all this, maybe it would take almost 1 hour to explain everything. But yeah, this is what majorly which all talk about what is more risk and what all we should look into it. Moving into that, what I will be covering today, it's all majorly basics. Then try to cover as a risk management. How do you manage your risk? What is that? How you define a framework for your entire organization cybersecurity, and how the business will operate based on cybersecurity resources. That is all that I'll try to cover you today. Now, cybersecurity basics. When we say basics, so there are many definitions on cybersecurity. If you can go and Google, you will see a lot of things. What I would be covering today, majorly based on certain standards. So it's called NIST, NIST standard. NIST is nothing but a National Information Security and Technology, Standards and Technology. So it's National Institute of Standards and Technology, which is a body who provides a global framework, standards, definitions, everything on cybersecurity. So NIST is a body. Whatever I'll be talking it today based on NIST framework, NIST guideline, everything. Now, as a definition, when we say definition, it could be like, okay, generally talk about prevention of damage to protection of or restoration of computers, electronic communication systems, electronic communication services, wire communication, and electronic communication, including information content therein to ensure availability, integrity, and authenticity. That's all it covers into a cybersecurity basics. Now it's a big definition which I talked about, and it is not easy to remember. So as a simple word, like protecting electronic devices and associated data and information. So whatever you have in digitally, you protect it. That is what the main objective of cybersecurity. If you have any data which is in fluid, that you have to protect it. You know your sensitive data, how you protect it, that's what your responsibility. That's all cybersecurity talk about. How that complexity of small business organization have it. You have an email service, so email protection that need to be taken care of. Mobile devices nowadays, in after 2020, thanks to corona, we are all working from home. Now, the moment we started working from home, all everyone moving into laptop or mobiles, lot of meetings and everything are happening on mobile only. That your email responses, meetings, all your presentations, trainings, all everything happening through mobile or laptop. So, which is very much needed to secure for a few corporate websites. So you have your corporate website that need to be protected. You have some advertisement media via social media, so you need to make sure there are no brand abuse cases in your social media that need to be taken care about, because it will be ultimately lead into a brand abuse, so it would be losing your brand. So that's, you need to make sure. E-commerce system, so like any organization, any business function who have some selling in e-commerce area, that is also you have to make sure that e-commerce system area that is protected. Online banking, now, when you buy something, when you pay something, like as in your, if I take it again, your engineering college perspective, you are paying some online money, you are giving, providing some gateways, so that that payment gateway link should be there, and then the payment, online payment would be there. Now we need to make sure from an organization standpoint whether these are protected, whether there's a right set of authentication verification are there. I know this is third party, either it's Paytm, Google Pay, or whatever third party. But when we partnered it as an organization, it is our responsibility to make sure our data is protected. BYOD and office policy. BYOD is nothing but bring your own device. When we say bring your own device, that means organization will not provide you laptop or desktop. That is, you will be bringing in, and they will be enforcing certain corporate policies to your system. But that policy need to be available. Do we have this? We need to check. This is right time. We need to check whether we have a cybersecurity policy for an organization. Do we have a defined control checklist that these are the do's and don'ts? As in cybersecurity, you should not be having any personal function, personal businesses doing into an office asset. That is what, or it's just an example. Like as a lot of things, you should not allow for in your corporate machines to allow do a social networking like Facebook and everything. On having said that, you can upload, you can make it anything. Network management, how you protect your network. Then backup and remote access. When you have certain critical data, are we taking a backup? Whether we are having a remote access, are we protecting it? That's something, these are majorly small business function, they don't focus on it, but this is a right time that this need to be focused. Moving into this, we need to talk about cybersecurity objectives. What are the objectives for overall cybersecurity? See, this is what a Bible of cybersecurity. When I say to anyone like, okay, we need to keep it, remember, it's a Bible of cybersecurity. CIA, that's called of confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Whatever we do it based on these three principles: confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Now, what are those? How we having it? Then I'll be explaining into next, like confidentiality. Confidentiality is nothing but is you need to make sure your data is confidential. How you make sure? Like you see that, okay, whatever those examples, like criminal steals customers username, passwords, or credit card information, right? Because this is your personal data, confidential data, that need to be protected. Now when I say again, like for an educational business like you are all in, what would be the confidential data for you? Do you know? I mean, uh, if anyone want to answer, that would be helpful, that I would like to understand that. Okay, anyone? Okay, no problem. So let me tell you, confidential information for an engineering college or educational business would be like your patented information, your patented course curriculum, anything that any course curriculum that you would be opening up. Or maybe it could be like, okay, certain development work that you are doing it, certain projects that you are be doing it, your students there, that your professors, they are guiding it, certain projects. That all could be a confidential information which can lead to defining and making a patent for all of your students or yourself, that could be confidential information. Now we need to make sure those information need to be protected. Like, as if I say, as an individual, my information, what for me, my confidential information would be my identity. When I say my identity, what am I doing today, what will be I'll be doing tomorrow, what I have, what I know, all this need to be confidential. But I'm sorry to say, everyone today in organization, today in everyone is making it completely public. If somebody is going to restaurant, they are making it into public Facebook post that, okay, we are checked into this hotel, we are checked into this restaurant, and along with my family members. So you're making it that your home is empty at the back end. There is no one at your home. Letting the malicious intruder know that, okay, I'm keeping myself, my home is vulnerable, so that the attacker can go into or theft my certain confidential information at home. So that is what we need to make sure, what I'm publishing, what I'm posting into social media. I know my private information. I should be very much skeptical about publicizing my information. So that's what you need to make sure. Confidentiality. Integrity. When I say integrity, we talk about that data integrity, that if we know that, okay, there is some communication happening between two party. Now, when this X communication to happening to Y communication, that X and Y, whatever the X is sending, the receiver Y, there has to be a similar information that, okay, there has to be no tampering on the data. Like as that payroll information. Let's think about tomorrow. If somebody able to hack your payroll system, then you have your pay slip published. If I, by any chance, I get into that system, I tamper your payroll information, that's something you would be like, it's a huge problem, right? So integrity, data integrity is majorly required. As in technology front, how do you protect your data integrity? That is what into technology area that we call it encryption. When you do your communication, your data need to be encrypted. Now we have used a lot of encryption in our old days, converting certain words into alphabet to word, and then adding some multiplication. That's a similar basic encryption we have done in all our uh, schools and colleges. Now we here in integrity, we all talk about MD5, SHA, triple days, RSA algorithm. All these are based on data integrity. That because any communication which has to be data encrypted, like as if you see, if you browse any website, you are into HTTPS. Nowadays you will not never ever see any website which is an HTTP. If there are any website in HTTP, that's all gone. Okay, they are ready to get it hacked. Now point is, it has to be secure, socket layer, SSL protected with encrypted, having HTTPS. So these are all one of the control protection that you make it your data integrity compliance. Availability. When we say availability, means whatever the data I have, I need to make it available immediately when I need it. So it should be available as in when you need it. How do you make sure your data available? Making sure your application is running throughout 24/7, making sure your data is backed up rightly, so that there is no, if there are ransomware attack, you don't care, because what that ransomware attack talk about, anyway, I'll explain into later on. But I need to make sure my data is available. How I make it available? I have certain control metrics that make it continuously 24/7. I have to set up my disaster recovery, that's called DR site, that my, I had to have an alternative application or server, or I have a BCP planning, business continuity planning, that if I have a natural calamity, my data center is into certain premises, and if I have a natural calamity, I like earthquake or flood, then entire my business is down, right? Now at the same time, I need to make sure my BCP is there, so I have to have a secondary data center in the other place, so that my application would be running, my business would be operating. So that calls about availability. Impact. Majorly when you lose CIA, these are the majorly impact, that okay, you have a vulnerability. So attackers see small business are easy target, because they don't comply, they don't rely or I mean, not rely is not a right word. Maybe they don't look into all the controls. They don't focus. Small businesses, they just focus onto the business. They don't focus into the back end. What kind of protection is needed? Maybe business cost. They have a less budget on those security protection. But initially, like if you see, I mean, if anyone is experienced from industry, IT world, like any organization, they have a very limited investment or a budget for cyber security. When you saw that, okay, if I could take about as an example of anyway, I'm not partially doing it any bank name, but I'll just name it, like let's take an HDFC Bank. So when HDFC Bank will operate, if there are some core banking system application need to be developed, or some new functionality need to open up, there would be huge budget for them to that business team. But the budget for cybersecurity team would be less. It was there into a 5 years back or 10 years back, that the budget was less for cybersecurity. Now the CEOs and CISOs are on the organization. Everybody has been nurtured. They have been taught. They have been trained in every area that you need to focus on cybersecurity. So the budget for cybersecurity is now high. So that you need to have necessary tools, technologies, protection has been there. Any question? Anyone? Okay, if you can go on mute, if anyone have unmuted yourself, would be good. Okay, so now, hello. Sattal, you there? Okay, that's fine. Now you see, another thing is reputation. So the moment your CIAs are lost, you would be losing your reputation, your business, because ultimately you will be seeing overall everywhere that, okay, this organization was hacked, or this company doesn't have a lot of protection on cybersecurity. So will you open your any bank account where there has been a news that this bank was on cyber attack? You will not open it up, right? So that's a reputation loss. The moment it's a reputation loss, ultimately it's entire business loss. So you need to make sure that there has been a lot of cybersecurity protection. So basic resources, if you further want to know more, like this is what a link that NIST that they published, that is what you can get to know. I'll not invest more time. Now threats, on cybersecurity threats. What are those? These are very basic that I'll be talking about. Phishing attacks, ransomware, hacking. Hacking is just a general term. There could be many, out of which. Then imposter scam, and then environmental events, how that can be lead to a cyber threat. I'll quickly explain each and every. So phishing attack, I mean, it could be known to many of you. If it is not known, I'll be again explaining you. So phishing attack is nothing but is like mimicking our original website, which will look like a original website, but in the back end, there is a URL injected. So the moment you click on that URL will be redirecting, opening up, getting your credentials and dumping into a file server. And the file server is just a attacker who have initiated, opened that phishing website. Like as an example, if I want to give it, in your mail, you will get a lot of emails like, okay, please update your State Bank of India bank account. If you do not update, and to update this bank account, click on the below link. If you will not update, your account will be deactivated. This kind of email that will be get it. So there will be a link in the below. After you click on the link below, then it will be redirected to a website. Then it will be asking you to log in. And when you see that website, it would be absolutely look like equal. It's absolutely State Bank of India. Now you give your credentials, password, username, passwords, and everything. And after you click on login, then all lost. You're gone, right? So that credentials now has been dumped into a file server, and again it is redirecting to the original website. That's what it will be doing it. So this called is a phishing attack, where it will be, I mean, the way the mail written, it will be emotionally, or maybe there could be a lot of other way that they will be doing it. They will be forcing you to read that email. I mean, one story coming into my mind, it is almost, I mean, beginning of my career, maybe in on 2007, um, there was Sony. Sony was, I'll talk about RSA. Okay. So RSA was hacked into a cyber attack. So if you all know, RSA was major pioneer and leader was on RSA algorithm, which is called, they creates encryption algorithm. And RSA declares that, okay, if no one in the world, they would be able to decrypt their encryption keys. If anybody would be able to decrypt their encryption key, they would be given some a bug bounty program and awards benefits. So they were that much of confident that nobody will be able to break my encryption key. What happened during that time in 2007, RSA was under cyber attack. How it happened? There was one single email has been sent to all across employees into RSA. That was all original email IDs. How do you get email IDs? Based on spoofing, spoof email. That's all technology in the backend that I'll not talk about all this. How do you speak spoof email? But now the point is, how do you get the email IDs? You will get the email IDs very easily. Any website. I mean, we are very less care about our private information. We upload anything in public website. So if you go into LinkedIn, you search for your employees, you will get that, okay, many of them have updated their company email IDs. Many of them have updated their mobile numbers into public websites. I mean, a lot of cases I've seen people are posting their mobile numbers and email IDs into Facebook or Instagram or whatever the public social networking sites, but they don't know what is that risk they are opening it up. So ultimately, you are opening up a risk another for phishing attacks. Now, that story, keep it behind. Now, what happened that the attacker, they was really in, I mean, they gathered all, most of, I mean, thousand of email IDs, authorized genuine email IDs for RSA company, and they sent an email, that attacker have sent an one single email across all the employees that promotion letter has been initiated. So there is like, okay, promotion letter, there was an Excel sheet that people have sent that, okay, everybody was interested to that, who all got promoted. Now everybody clicked on that Excel sheet. The moment that Excel sheet opened into that laptop or desktop, there was a, that's called cryptography. That within that Excel sheet, there was a malware injected, which was a Trojan. That Trojan was infected, installed into your system, and we know that how Trojan behave. Backend, it will open up a door, like as if you have seen the War of Troy. That, okay, they would be giving a golden toy, golden horse, and then there are the armed forces. They would be hiding there into the horse. So ultimately, there was a Trojan horse installed in the system, and backend, it had opened up a channel between the attacker into that desktop or laptop. And fortunately for the attacker, unfortunately for the RSA organization, the person who have opened up, who was a developer of that RSA, he was not a big shot, but he was just a developer. And that developer was having access to that server where the algorithm keeps on it. And that is what it slowly tried to get I mean, the attacker got hold of the server. The attacker got hold of the entire encryption keys. Now, what is that takeaway of this news? So, this specific attack called ATP attack, Advanced Persistent Threat. Persistent is nothing but that, okay, you slowly try to penetrate. You slowly making that organization vulnerable and attack it. Now, the takeaway of this, though you are developer, but in the backend you don't know anything, because the cyber risk or cyber awareness was not there. Why you would open it up, then email with an Excel sheet called that promotion letter? First of all, there has to be some question come into your mind. Is it the right team, right time I am expecting this promotion letter? Am I the right person to expecting that promotion letter? That question need to be generalized. And then I should check the sender email ID who have sent it. I should go to the email header list and say that, okay, who are the original person who have sent it email ID? These are the generic question that I would be making myself. Now, what happened? RSA was attacked. RSA lost business, reputation loss, and then RSA was taken over by another company called EMC Square. So they taken over. Now it has been named off as a separate child entity called RSA Security Division. They have developed now a lot of security products, and they are leading of cyber technology in RSA now. But that's the takeaway I want to give a knowledge. So now a knowledge, a do's that you should be all doing it. That, are you the right person receive that mail? Is that the sender will generally send that email? If I say that, okay, banks asking to update the email, SBI always publish this news. They don't share links, anything. If you have to update, you go into the bank, or you access the sbi.co.in or whatever the URL separately, not by clicking any email. So that's the awareness we have to bring. I mean, we are making everybody, I mean, a lot of our family members, they're using it, they got a smartphone, but ultimately we are making our system in risk. Ransomware. So ransomware, I mean, in last 6 to 7 years, we are talking about this is a massive attack is happening, because it's slow poisoning. And what it does basically, it gets into a system and it encrypts your data. Now, this is one of the example like WannaCry. WannaCry was a malware which was attacked into some organization. A lot of organization was under attack against ransomware. Even I have worked on for last one. I mean, 6 months back for one of the customer, they were under ransomware attack, and that was very basic. I'm sorry, I'm not able to share that information, who and how there. But yeah, a lot of big shots, big giants are under this ransomware attack. Why? Because of employee awareness. That one and simple thing, they open certain emails, spam emails, and get that, or they go that certain users, employees, they have some public free access to any website. They go and they download certain information and get the system in risk. But ultimately what that ransomware does, the ransomware utility get installed into your system, slowly segregate, separate, go into an all entire network, and then it encrypts all the data what you have in your laptop, desktop, or server. The moment it encrypted, you would not be able to use it. Now let's take an example. You have a certain deliverable, you have a CEO meet tomorrow, or like if I can give an example of TCS, like TCS who have a web publishing of quarterly revenue. Tomorrow the CEO want to present it, and all of a sudden that entire data presentation got hacked and it is encrypted. He is not able to open it up. Think about the business loss, think about the reputation loss. Now on this point, the ransomware, the attacker, what they ask it, that you pay me some ransom, then I'll give you a decryption key. It is only about the money. So ransomware is like the demanding for ransom. They would encrypt the data, demand that ransom, you pay me that money, then the money will be paid, and then it will be given to they will be providing the decryption key. They can use it. So that's what ransomware. So how do you safeguard yourself on ransomware? You make your data backup. The moment your data is backed up, why do you bother about that? Whoever ransomed it, that ransomware, go to hell. I don't need you. I have my data. If you have encrypted, I'll format my system. That's all. I have my another data. So one of the way to control is you have to make sure your sensitive data are protected and backed up into some other alternative system. Hacking. Hacking, it's a very generic term, but it's majorly is all technological perspective. Whatever, as I mentioned that previously, DOS attack, and the advanced perspective is on DDoS attack, distributed denial of service. When you distributed denial of service, nothing but is like you got hold of entire system, thousands of systems, creating a bot and then making a zombie. So we have seen a lot of zombie movie. So like as that, okay, one single person who is like in a command and control center and controlling 1,000 devices, and all those 1,000 devices are attacking to a single system. That called a DDoS attack. And you could see that, okay, a lot of unauthorized access denied perspective, and there are a lot of stolen faults and intellectual properties and everything that comes into our hacking area. Imposter scam. Now, as if I talked about phishing, it is similar like that, but it is on voiceover. I mean, many of you, I mean, I have received lot of calls like this. You may have received also that, okay, there are these called phishing calls, VISHING, or it generally termed as imposter. Like someone will be calling you that, okay, I am from so and so bank, and this is what you having a payments is going on, or you have to update this card and this card, share me your OTP, and then or maybe share the CVV number in the behind of your credit card or debit card, and the moment you give it, and then you are lost. Or maybe somewhere you got a call that okay, there is a lottery, and then you have been you will get, you are lucky, you got this car and all this thing, and you have to share your bank account number. But to get this, you have to provide your 3-digit CVV number and card number. So that is what it will make you vulnerable. The moment you got this, and then you would share your CVV number and credit card or debit card number, and all lost. But really, when you receive these calls, I mean, there are happening. There are a lot of cases. I know many of them. I mean, one of my friends' father, they was tapped into like this, and he lost entire money from the account. How it happened? That there was someone called, and they were asking for information. So, like, we need to very much make aware, not to ourselves, to everybody, every family member, and whoever we know, that do we really expect this kind of calls? I mean, how could somebody would give you free that okay, a car that you will be getting it? Nobody will give in free anything nowadays. We see like buy one get one free, but is it really free? They're taking money. Don't worry. But yeah, that is all about it. That we should not entertain any calls when somebody is asking, give me that. If it is your private information, do not share. There are many cases. I've been also seen that okay, there was like people are calling that okay, they will need to get it Aadhaar card number. Yeah, you Aadhaar card is a national identity now, but Aadhaar card linked with lot of other identities with bank accounts and everything. Are we really ensure that okay, Aadhaar system is itself protected? No, no. So why should they need it Aadhaar card information if it is only need to know? So don't share it anything over call. You need to validate, justify that who are the person who is asking for Aadhaar, whether they are really having that authority to ask it. Otherwise, don't share it. Environmental threats. When we say environment, that I already talked about, like okay, your natural calamity, earthquake, flood, or any other issues. That why this is a threat? Because of that your data, that's I talked about BCP, business continuity planning, disaster recovery, all these you need to make sure that okay, if it is fall into a environmental calamity or natural calamity, you need to make sure that your business is running, your data is running, everything. Elements of risk, like what are the threats that we need to understand, what are the vulnerabilities. So this is all about like how do you manage your risk management, overall risk management. So you need to identify my threats, my vulnerabilities, and my likelihood, and what is that impact I'm going to have. So it's just simple structure that I'll tell you that how do you define it. Maybe, yeah, like it's this way, that you have to identify your business assets. What is my business assets? What are the asset for me, my organization? Identify their value. Then you document it that okay, if it is a loss, if my asset is lost, what would be the impact to my business? And then what is the probability of that loss? So that is what likelihood nothing but is that's a probability, that if you have it, what is the likelihood to get that vulnerability, and then you prioritize accordingly. So this is how you'll be protecting your organization and yourself as well. I have only 16 minutes left. I'll be skipping this anyway. That's all theoretical. Straight away, I'll go into a cybersecurity framework function. So basically, these are the functions. This is how we will having it. Identity, you have to identify. Then you have to protect. Then you need to make sure your system is protected. Then you have to detect it, that okay, if there are anomaly happens, then you have to detect it. After you detect it, then you have to respond accordingly, that okay, you have to go for a mitigation plan. How do you mitigate that vulnerability? How do you mitigate that risk? And then you have to, if there are certain lost, then how you recover it. So that's a framework, that's a cycle. It goes into this all six, or sorry, all five pillars that you have to do. So this is what as NIST talk about. Now, identity is nothing but your organization understanding that to manage your cybersecurity risk to system, assets, data, and capabilities. That you need to identify. Identity is nothing but you need to identify what is your assets, how you manage it. So, like as you see, business environment. asset management. How do you make your asset? How do you govern it? Your governance structure. What is your risk assessment framework? How do you assess the risk? So like as a bullet wise, if I read it, you see that, okay, identify critical business process. I mean, for you, if you look back your organization as an uh, 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 educational service, what is that critical business process for you that you need to identify? Then you need to document that information flow. Then you need to establish a policy for cybersecurity that include roles and responsibility. That, okay, you need to identify a person, that who would be the person taking care about this cyber security policies and framework. Then you have to maintain your hardware inventory. I mean, we have a lot of desktops, assets, servers in our school or colleges. Do we really have an asset management system? Do we have an inventory? Do you have a owners identified? Do you have a patch management system? Are these systems are patches properly on right time? Do you have access control? Or if it is everything as an admin rights to the system? All this we need to assess it. So this is called risk assessment. The moment you do assess it, then you will be making it your risk definition criteria, risk protection criteria. Then that later on you have to govern it. So that is all your identity activities. Protect, how do you protect it? Like, you have to develop and implement the appropriate safeguards. So safeguard, I mean, it's nothing but that, okay, your controls that I keep reiterating every time. How do you control your risk? The moment you identify, you have to make XYZ, that protection of those risk. Like as one of the example I talked about, integrity. To adhere to integrity, you need to make sure your website or application which you have published, if it is a web-based application, that has to be HTTPS. You need to ensure that, okay, data are encrypted. Right access control. IAM, I talk about identity and access management. So if it is my identity, who am I, what I need to know, what I have, and how do I control it? That need to make sure. So these are all sample protection activities you could see. That one could be an maintenance. The major thing that you in the middle one is awareness and training. It's lack of awareness, lack of knowledge, lack of training. There are a lot of threats, cyber attacks are happening to a lot of digital organizations because of only awareness. We know a lot of things, but we don't follow it. But some of the cases we don't know. Majority of the attacks are happening from insider threats. What is that insider threat? Means inside the organization, somebody of the employee. So that is why a lot of organization investing money only for that awareness training, this cybersecurity awareness training. I mean, like as if I could give an example, many of these organizations now open up doing a awareness training. I have been there for CISF, I've been there for correctional center. There also I have seen that, okay, they are investing a lot of money only for cyber awareness, because there are a lot of risk. Employees are in risk, organization in risk, because we are into smart world, we are using smartphone and everything open. How do you protect your data? That you need to make sure. Now detect. The moment you protected, then you have to detect. How do you detect? You need to have some necessary monitoring in place. You need to have necessary tools in place. You need to have certain events triggered in place, XYZ. So if X happened, then there has to be a trigger, there has to be some notification that this has been happened. So there are a lot of tools and technologies who does it, but necessarily you need to make sure that this has to be detected. If there are some sudden, like as if you know antivirus, basic single example. Nowadays nobody talked about antivirus. It's the latest technology called EDR. Okay, enterprise detection and response. So like Microsoft Defender for endpoint, that if you see now, and nowadays if you have all your latest laptop, you could see Microsoft operating system embedded with a antivirus called Defender for endpoint. So this is an EDR. Basically it pre-built with the operating system, and then it detects and it responded accordingly. We are not talking about that age old technology antivirus like Trend Micro or Norton antivirus or Symantec. That all gone, those world. Now it is all EDR. So that, okay, the moment this has been identified, it's a behavioral based. Everybody, we talk about artificial and intelligence and machine learning, how it's happening based on behavioral aspect. The system how it operate, the system how it learning based on behavior, it will detect that okay, it is an anomaly behavior, and then it will trigger that okay, something is happening to that system, the anomaly is happening. So that's called alert notification, the detection will be there. So this is what, like, okay, as I talked about anomaly and events, continuous monitoring that I already spoke about. So this is what we need to ensure. Respond. After you detect it, then we have to respond it. Like, okay, how do you make it prevented? How do you solve it? So there is to be certain corrective and preventive action. Corrective action is just like you need to immediately correct it. That if something has, if the server is shut down, or if the system is application is crashed, then you need to immediately solve it. That's a corrective action. Preventive action, you need to ensure that the application which has been crashed due to a cyber attack, or the server which was attacked due to a cyber attack, how you ensure it will never happen in the future. So that necessary controls that you have to in place, so that it will not have it in place, not happen in future. So that's all preventive action. So you need to ensure that response mechanism, that response planning, communication, everything that you have to make it. Recover. After you have done all these four steps, identify, protect, detect, and respond, then you have to recover. That how do you restore your capability? If it's all lost, then you have to restore it. So that's what you see. Develop and implement the appropriate activities to maintain resilience and restore. So we all talk about data resiliency, data, fault tolerance. That is what we need to make sure that okay, my availability. This is what we talk about availability perspective. That need to ensure it is recovered. So see, this is what recovery planning. How do you your recovery? How you have your communication established toward other departments, and this is an overall your all this five framework topic, like identify, protect, detect, respond, and recover. All these are the necessary area that every organization, every individual need to look into it. Like start from asset management, risk management, starts from information protection policies, procedures, and everything, like every single thing has to be a policies and procedure. If I talk about my organization, my business function, I need to know what are the policies I need to follow. If I say that okay, that is also a policy. It could be an HR policy, it could be an IT policy, it could be a physical security policy, that okay, when somebody have to enter into a room, they have to do a swiping card. That also a physical theft, because somebody need to make sure that your identity are authorized. So you are making a biometric authentication, you're getting into a specific premises. So whether you are right person to get into that, so that's a physical protection, that also fall into a cyber security. These are all everyday tips which anyway I talked about. So be careful about email. I'll again repeat it, that be careful about email attachments, web links, voice calls from unknown numbers. Do not click on any open attachment that you are not expecting. Any all this I have already talked about. Is separate or personal business computer, so that is necessary. That okay, right now I'm doing a presentation from my personal laptop. If I would have given that from my office laptop, TCS laptop, it would be a big risk. I'll be questioned, because there is a chance of having my data. Since I'm doing a screen share, there will be a chances of you may can see my certain TCS copyright information. I should not be doing that. So that's why. So that is what you should be doing. This is a personal thing. I'm not representing a TCS now. So this is something we need to ensure. What is my personal work? What is my business work? Always you do a multi-factor authentication. Okay, so when you would be doing it, so in your, either it's in your Gmail, any other email, or any other social networking websites, you need to ensure whether multi-factor authentication, either it's an OTP based or app based, everything you need to ensure that has been enabled. Then do not download or software any unknown web page. Never give out your username and password. Never ever. Do not give. I mean, I have seen a lot of. I mean, if it's a family member, husbands, wives, they know each other's username password. But guys, don't do that. This is also a risk, because it's your own personal identity. Your privacy is going into other way. Lot of in this you'll see lot of cases, lot of risk happening. divorces are happening due to this kind of privacy information, due to simple basic of misunderstanding, which is only about sharing the username and password. So I see a lot of digital issues going into our family issues. So we need to very much ensure adhere to the digital security. Consider using a password management application to store your passwords for you. So when like we all say, when I speak into some many of my friends, colleagues, or anyone, that how do I maintain my passwords? There are my bank password, my email password, my this password, blah blah, all this. I said, boss, why don't you make a password management tools or applications? If you go into a search in Google, you'll see LastPass. LastPass is provide a password vaulting solution. Okay, you need to remember one password, and they will be storing your password. That's an encrypted vaulted solution. There are a lot of other tools, but obviously don't do a free word download. So like as KEDB kind of thing, there are many other tools that you have it. Get it downloaded, save it in your system, and get the all password saves. And remember one password, master password. And then when you have to use that, open up that and see that, okay, and use it. That's fair enough. Now that is all I want to conclude now. Any help? These are the things. This is what you need to follow it. Ask for a recommendation, business partner statement. I mean, that's all. You can ignore it. This is what the resources that I have followed for this presentation. This is all I talked about. NIST business cybersecurity corner. These are the URLs. If anybody is interested, take a screenshot, or I have my details. The moderator Satudul will have it. You can, if any point in time, if you wanted to know any information, let me know. That's all about for today's presentation. If anybody have any question, please go ahead.
Thank you, Saurabh. I think Shojit have some question for you. Shojit, please ask.
Yeah, please.